Okay, this is something that's going to go into MGTOW a little bit. The fifth stage. The fifth stage is the rapid decline of population. So the original demographic transition model has just 4 stages. However, in some cases, the fertility rate falls well below replacement levels, and a population decline sets in rapidly. It is theorized that a 5th stage is necessary to count for this demographic stage. So an example is Romania, where the crude birth rate is 10, the crude death rate is almost 12, and the total fertility rate is 1.3, is almost 1.4, which is well below replacement. Population growth is at a negative rate. Okay, this is the ice cream cone shape of what we're talking about. You can see that because it loses this population pyramid loses its columnar structure, and you get the ice cream cone shape, where you get the bulge of mature folks at the top and that narrow base, which for a population is unsustainable. This you see this in Italy. You see this in some of the Nordic countries, that narrow cone shape or that narrow base in the pyramid. And you see it in Japan. This is the estimate of what Japan's going to look like in 15 years. Completely unsustainable, where you have a huge cohort. You know, the majority of your population is, you know, where in a growing society, the majority of your population, I would say 80% of your population, 80-90% of your population is below this level. Whereas in a dying population, the majority of your society is over 50. And this, you can see this, it's just, this shape is unsustainable because there's no base. There's no base for young people to take care of these people. These people here do the work. These people up here are almost past and past their working lives or working capability. This is the shape that post-industrial countries like the United States, Canada, Northern Europe are trying to avoid. So remember this when we think of immigration, when we think of, say, the United States importing kids from across the border. They're trying to avoid this. They're trying to avoid this shape. This is striking fear in industrial societies or modern societies. Okay, here is the United States in a nutshell over the 20th century. You can see the transitional shape in the early 1900s. You can see the nice smooth triangle in the early 1900s, where the majority of folks in the population were below the age of 30. And very few, even in the 1900s, where you think that a lot of people think that a lot of people live to be over 65 or even over 50 years of age in the transitional phase, the United States. That's not true. You can see less than 10% of the people were over 40. That's less than 10% of the folks live to be over, well, I said over the age of 45, less than 10%. Less than 5% live to be over the age of 65. You know, over the age of 65, you know, was about 3%, and that was in 1900. If you look at the shape out here in 1950, and this is with the baby boomers. This is with the baby boomers. The baby boomers were the baby boomer bulge saved the United States from going down to below replacement. Okay, this is 1950. These are the baby boomers right here. Okay, this is the reproductive cohort. This is the bulge. This is the bulge that we see starting right here of old folks. And 65 and older, I was looking at a chart earlier. This is less than 5%, and this is in 1950. This is that's less than 5%. 65 and older, and that's in 1950. So the majority of people, 95% of the people, did not live to be 65 and older. It didn't happen. It wasn't true then. It's not true now. You can see it. Now we get to the year 2000, in the last part of the 20th century. We can see the bulge. We can see the bulge. We can see the baby boomer bulge right there, where the population is starting to age. You can see the increase in people over 65, which is now 15%. Which is now 15%. And because of a lot of work, they were able to avoid the narrowing base of a post-industrial society. We're going to look at that in a minute. Okay, here is the United States, the chart of the United States birth rate. You can see after 1910, you can see the fall. You can see the fall. This is because of industrialization. This is before the pill. You can see the fall. This is the effect of industrialization, or maturing industrial society. In 1960, it was a full industrial society. This is after the pill, and you can see the even more rapid drop off in the birth rate. These, these are the two attempts in 1964 and then in 1967 with welfare. The one in 67 worked, where basically you were paying women to have children. And I'm going to show that in our next slide. But the divorce rate and the independence of women and feminism basically caused another drop. So they had to do something else. This is when the child support actually kicked in and brought the birth rate back up to above replacement. And because of the economy and other things, it took another nosedive to the point where here, United States is officially below replacement. If it wasn't for immigrants, the United States will be well below replacement, just like Germany is. Here is a view from 1950 on of the United States and its population pyramid. You can see how you can see down here where the baby boom generation or effect started to shrink, and that bulge happened to start, and the fertility started to shrink. And this is the United States' efforts to bolster its fertility rate through payments, through child support, and other things. So this is the battle of the United States as a policy to stabilize its population. This is this is a moving example of the United States trying to get this columnar shape, trying to get this stable columnar shape. You can see it. You can see how their birth rate is high because of the baby boom generation. You can see how that bulge moves up. And you can see after 1960 how that baby fertility rate shrunk. And you can see that battle to keep this section down here from shrinking. These two columns from shrinking to basically even out with this column because of the low birth rate, because of the low death rate and the low birth rate, and that bulge to take care of all these workers, which is causing the adjustment in Social Security and pensions and all these other things. So this is a subject that MGTOWs need to look at. This is something that we need to figure out. But this is going to conclude my last word on, say, the average lifespan, because we've done it, almost an hour's worth of work into investigating lifespans and the Industrial Revolution's effect on lifespans and populations and birth rates. So with that, folks, comment, post another video, ask questions. Please do some homework before you ask questions. If it's going to be a complaint, if it's going to be a challenge, do me a favor, do a Google search on the information that I put out. Come up with an alternative view. Just don't throw stuff out that doesn't stick against the wall. It didn't take me very long to refute the majority of what people were saying. And it's a shorter time to take to do a Google search than to argue back and forth with me over a chart. Like I say, all these charts aren't mine. This is readily accepted science. This is readily accepted information. I found it. Other people can find it. Don't just throw out what you think, because of something that you heard. Actually do the work. I put this stuff together so that MGTOWs can actually think and not just react about society and women and how people are doing us wrong. I want people to think about why society does what it does, why marriages are what they are, why relationships are what they are, why raising children is what it is. Most of this stuff is a reaction to something else. Most of this things we see is a reaction to the structures that the Industrial Revolution has set in motion. So with that, until next time.